So, what I'm saying is that something in our society changed. I remember growing up in the 70s and 80s, and society we weren't these things. We weren't perfectionists. I'm going to now get into gang stalking, how I think this evolved out of that. I think that these are a lot of tactics that came from communist countries. And as our society reflects these tactics, I can see how America, we went from being together and trying to get a America together to being more competitive amongst ourselves and having less of the social activities we've had. When we're talking about being judgmental, obsessive, perfectionist, antisocial, those are very individualistic things. So a society where everyone is doing their own thing and we can't get together in terms of being collectivistic, meaning we have a moment where as Americans we get together. We have certain things that everyone will do. And part of why I think that changed is once we started getting more into computers and into video games and into social media, we became more individualistic. So as a whole, our society is an individualistic society, but we had a lot of collectivistic activities that we engaged in. School events, after school events, activities, sports. That's a big deal with me. We lost music, art, and sports in a lot of schools. Why can't we have those programs? Those programs are collectivistic programs that taught us how to work as a team and not just as an individual. And that's something kids need. The other thing about that, it was social. So on one hand, as a society, when we, in the 70s and 80s, we had a lot of social activities. Going into computers and video games, again, in the 80s, definitely by the 90s and forward, it's more of an antisocial activity. So these are things, when I'm saying as our society changed, it also is due to a change in the population. And I think that is what I'm saying. As a Democrat, we talk about these things. We don't talk about the same way a Republican would, but we talk about these things. And I think once Republicans cut some of the funds for these activities, we're getting the results that we have now. You want to complain about children getting to violence and crime and engaging in these activities that we don't want? Well, why aren't we talking about giving them back the funding for sports, activities, after school programs? You want to talk about people not being able to make enough money? Why don't we talk about getting them in school training for jobs? Opening up certain jobs that are less needed a college education, that you can actually go to carpentry school, plumbing school, electrical school. And the people who are interested in those things can attend those programs. We have a lot of construction. Are those union jobs? Again, another thing that Democrats are interested in. We're interested in unions. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how as I'm talking about gang stalking, they're worried about my hair. They're worried about my appearance. That's exactly it. We worried about appearance, but it wasn't obsessive. The gang stalking to me is going to spread. It's in this little group now, and it's going to completely continue to spread because it causes us to go more into these negative traits. And in the previous